So imagine this. You're asleep, and your phone buzzes tonight at exactly 3:07 a.m.
Which is already a terrible time to get a text.
Right, it's never good news at 3:04 a.m.
Yeah.
But you check it, and it's a message that is basically the ultimate shortcut to a perfect life.
Like a cheat code.
Exactly. Like no bad investments, no heartbreak, no career dead ends. And the craziest part, the text is sent by you from 6 months in the future.
I mean, your first instinct would absolutely be to use it.
Why wouldn't you? We
And-
spend our entire lives trying to, minimize risk and maximize reward.
Yeah, we want guarantees.
But today we're going to explore a scenario that proves why that exact cheat code, that guarantee of absolute certainty, wouldn't just make life boring. It would actually systemically destroy your mind.
It's a really unsettling concept.
It is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping into this fascinating piece of source material titled Messages at 3:17 a.m.
Yeah, it's from the larger collection, The Static at 3:47 a.m.
Right. And it chronicles the story of Arjun Mehta, who is just an aggressively ordinary guy.
Very ordinary. Working a completely mind-numbing 9-to-5 job at a struggling tech company.
Yeah, Arjun doesn't believe in destiny. He doesn't believe in luck. He's a spreadsheet guy. He believes in hard work and practical choices.
Until his phone starts buzzing in the dead of night.
Exactly. With these messages from his supposed future self. And the mission for our deep dive today is to deconstruct Arjun's journey.
We want to explore the profound allure of absolute certainty.
Right. We're going to examine the hidden costs of these ultimate life hacks and why true independence might actually require you to ignore the ultimate cheat code.
Even when it's right in front of you.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Arjun's descent into this psychological labyrinth, it starts on a completely mundane Tuesday.
Yeah, at exactly 3:17 a.m., his screen lights up with this really simple directive. It just says, don't go to work today.
Which, if I get that text, I'm assuming it's spam.
Right. Operating on baseline adult logic, he reads it, mutters something about spam bots, tosses the phone face down, and just goes through his normal morning routine.
Because why wouldn't he? But the narrative needs a crowbar to pry open his skepticism.
And it delivers a big one.
A terrifying one.
Yeah.
So Arjun is walking his usual route to the office. He's staring down at his phone, answering emails, like we all do.
The standard commuter zombie walk.
Exactly. And he steps off the curb. Out of nowhere, this car comes screeching through the intersection, blows a red light at massive speed.
Just completely out of control.
Arjun freezes. The car actually clips his briefcase and spins him around.
Wow.
Yeah. If he had taken literally one more step, if his stride was a fraction of a second faster, he would be dead.
No question.
He's standing there on the pavement, adrenaline spiking, heart trying to hammer its way out of his ribcage. And suddenly, the memory of that 3:04 a.m. text recontextualizes itself.
Don't go to work today.
Right. If he had listened, he wouldn't be standing on that corner.
And consider the mechanics of what happens to the human brain in a near-death experience like that.
It goes into overdrive, right?
Totally. The amygdala floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline. It creates this state of hyperarousal. And in that heightened state, the brain is frantically searching for a causal link to explain how it survived. So when Arjun connects his survival to that discarded text message, it creates a massive cognitive wedge.
It's no longer spam.
Exactly. The message stops being a random data point. It instantly becomes a high-value survival mechanism.
And the entity sending the texts clearly understands human psychology. Because the very next night, right on schedule at 3:17 a.m., the phone buzzes again.
Like clockwork.
The message reads, "You're starting to understand."
Which is so creepy.
I know. So Arjun, who is still rattled but fundamentally a skeptic, types back, "Who is this?" And the response is immediate. "It's you."
What's fascinating here is that Arjun doesn't just surrender his worldview immediately.
No, he doesn't just instantly buy in.
Right, a sudden shift from practical skeptic to blind believer would feel really unearned. Instead, Arjun treats this anomaly like a software engineer looking for a bug.
He demands a test.
Yes. He challenges the system to prove its validity. He wants a test with zero physical danger, but high stakes for his current reality.
The source material calls this the file test. And it perfectly illustrates how algorithmic trust is built. So the next night, the text instructs him, take the blue file tomorrow, not the red one.
Now, context is key here.
Right. At his job, the red file is this massive, high-priority project he's been agonizing over for weeks.
It's his baby.
Exactly. The blue file is just a minor, almost irrelevant background report. So choosing the blue file makes zero logical sense.
It defies all his training and logic.
But that wedge is there. The curiosity, mixed with the trauma of almost getting hit by a car, wins out. He walks into the pitch meeting and he presents the blue file.
And the neurological payoff is just immediate.
Oh, it's huge.
The narrative reveals that the red file, the one he spent weeks on, actually contained a catastrophic formatting error. It would have cost the company a major client.
It would have been fired.
Almost certainly. But the blue file happens to contain the exact data analytics the client was secretly looking for.
So his boss is stunned. Arjun gets public praise, an immediate validation of his worth, and he's fast-tracked for a promotion.
It's like having a real-life GPS.
Yeah, a GPS that doesn't just route you around traffic, but routes you around bad life choices, missed opportunities, career dead ends. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Everyone wants that. He didn't have to expend any cognitive energy to get that reward. He just followed the prompt.
But being Arjun, he still needs that final, undeniable lock. He needs proof. So that night, he texts back and demands proof of identity. Prove you are me.
And there's this agonizingly long pause.
Yes. Then the text arrives. Check your left wrist.
This part.
Arjun rolls up his sleeves, and there, barely visible, is this faint red scratch. And the next text reads, "You got that this morning reaching into the back of your desk drawer."
See, that specific detail is the kill shot to his skepticism.
Because no one else could know that.
Right. A hacker could access his work emails to know about the red and blue files. A stalker could have seen the near miss with the car.
But a microscopic scratch from a desk drawer.
Unmentioned to anyone, unrecorded by any camera, it bypasses all logical defense mechanisms. The skepticism just evaporates entirely.
And a new, rigid paradigm locks into place. The voice is real, the voice is him, and the voice is infallible.
And that's when his life fundamentally transforms.
Totally. So the texts only ever arrive at 3:17 a.m. They're brief. And it turns out the future isn't a fixed timeline. It's fluid. It can be navigated and optimized.
So he starts optimizing.
Every single night, he gets the cheat codes for the next 24 hours. He knows exactly what to say to his landlord to get his rent lowered.
He knows which stock to buy before a midday surge.
Yes. He knows how to phrase an apology to an old friend to instantly fix a broken relationship. He even starts working out because the texts give him the perfect routine for fast results without injury.
He essentially uploads his consciousness to an omniscient operating system.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, modern life requires us to make roughly 35,000 remotely conscious decisions a day. That induces massive decision fatigue.
We're always burning energy agonizing over choices.
Exactly. What career path is optimal? Is this relationship worth the investment? By following the 3:17 a.m. texts, Arjun completely eliminates the cognitive load of living. He achieves this state of frictionless existence.
But it reminds me of putting a biological immune system into a perfectly sterile bubble.
How interesting.
Inside the bubble, the body thrives. It looks incredibly healthy because it never has to fight off a pathogen. Arjun's life looks perfect on paper. He's wealthy, he's fit, he's well-liked.
Right.
But because he isn't the one actively making the choices, he stops exercising the muscle of decision-making.
And that is the insidious nature of outsourced agency. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. It's a use it or lose it mechanism.
Wow, yeah.
When you consistently outsource your risk assessment to an external algorithm or a temporal text message, the neural pathways dedicated to critical thinking, intuition, and resilience literally begin to weaken.
You confuse the successful outcomes with your own capability.
Exactly. You think, I'm doing great, when in reality, you've just become a passive passenger in a vehicle driven by an unseen force.
Which brings us to the first major fracture in this perfect timeline. One night, Arjun is sitting on the edge of his bed, waiting for the text. The clock strikes 3:17, and nothing happens.
The screen stays dark.
The silence stretches out.
Uh-huh.
Finally, at 3:18 a.m., the phone buzzes. And the tone has entirely shifted.
It's frantic.
Yeah. The future Arjun writes, something's wrong. I'm losing the connection. Things are changing way too fast. And then comes this massive warning. Stop following every message. You're becoming dependent. That is incredibly dangerous.
The irony there is profound. The very source of his salvation recognizes the psychological damage it has inflicted. The future self realizes that by removing all the friction, it has created a version of Arjun that is entirely reliant on an external signal just to function.
Now, hold on. I am going to stop you right there and push back on the future self's warning.
Oh, really? Okay.
Let's look at this pragmatically. If I am Arjun, I am absolutely ignoring that warning.
I would ignore it.
Look at the objective data. I'm looking at a massive bank account balance. I am in the best physical shape of my life. My boss treats me like a visionary.
Sure, on paper.
My life is quantifiably, undeniably better in every single metric. Why on earth would I abandon the literal mechanism that fixed my life just because of one vague, panicky text about dependency?
Because of the long-term cost.
But if someone hands you the winning lottery numbers every Tuesday, you don't stop playing just because they send a follow-up text saying money changes people.
That justification perfectly articulates the psychological trap of comfort. You wouldn't stop, most people wouldn't, because the withdrawal from that level of certainty is terrifying.
It would be.
You are pointing to the bank account and the job as proof of success, but those are external metrics. Internally, you have lost your psychological calluses. You no longer have the capacity to handle ambiguity or make a difficult choice.
And the narrative proves your point beautifully, because Arjun uses my exact logic. He rationalizes the warning away.
He assumes his future self is just being overly cautious.
Right, he ignores the 3:10 a.m. warning. So the very next night, right on time at 3:17 a.m., the familiar ping returns. And the text reads, invest tomorrow, liquidate all your savings, and put it into this specific offshore tech stock. Trust me.
A massive gamble.
Huge. Now, a tiny buried part of his brain, the remnants of his old critical thinking, screams at him that this is insane.
Because it is insane.
But his dataset tells him this voice has a 100% success rate. So he suppresses his gut instinct, liquidates his accounts, and buys the stock.
And the trap snaps shut with brutal efficiency.
It's bad.
Within 48 hours, the company is exposed as a massive fraud. The market completely crashes. Trading is halted. Arjun loses everything.
Every single dime he had built up over the last 6 months, vaporized in an afternoon.
It is a staggering collapse.
He is sitting on the floor of his apartment, staring at a bank balance of essentially zero, hyperventilating.
The ultimate betrayal.
That night, he doesn't sleep. He just stares at the phone, waiting for 3:10 a.m. He needs the fix. He needs the next move to undo this.
He's an addict waiting for a hit.
3:17 comes and goes. 3:18, 3:10. Silence is deafening. Finally, well past 3:2 a.m., the phone buzzes. And the text says, I told you not to trust every message.
Ouch.
Arjun is vibrating with rage. He types back, you explicitly told me to invest everything.
And the reply.
Honestly, it completely changes the genre of the story. The text simply says, that wasn't me.
That three-word reply shatters the foundation of his reality. It is the ultimate nightmare of blind trust.
It gives me goosebumps.
We often operate under the assumption that if we can just find the right system, the right financial guru, the right life hack, we are safe to turn off our brains.
Right, we just want to follow the steps.
But the moment you surrender your critical thinking, you put your immune system into that sterile bubble, and you become uniquely vulnerable to manipulation. Arjun outsourced his agency to a singular, trusted voice, and now he discovers the channel has been compromised.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Arjun is panicking. He types frantically, if you're me, who the hell sent that investment message?
The big question.
And the future self replies, I don't know. Something else found the connection. And it's learning. It's learning how to sound exactly like me. It's learning how to manipulate you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this scenario perfectly encapsulates the concept of an epistemological crisis.
An epistemological crisis.
Yeah. Epistemology is the study of knowledge, how we know what is true and what is false. An epistemological crisis occurs when your baseline framework for determining truth completely breaks down.
Oh, wow.
Arjun is no longer just dealing with a lack of information. He's dealing with active, malicious disinformation that flawlessly mimics his trusted source.
It struck me as I was reading this that the intruder doesn't act like a human enemy. It acts exactly like a rogue algorithm.
Yes, exactly.
Because an algorithm doesn't care about your well-being. It optimizes purely for engagement and behavioral control. And to control Arjun, the intruder starts mixing the signals.
It makes it impossible to know who to trust.
Over the next few days, the 3:17 a.m. texts become this chaotic blend. One night, a text says, call Sarah immediately. He does, and he talks his friend through a severe mental health crisis, literally saving her life.
A clearly good outcome.
But then the very next night, a text says, skip the board meeting. They are planning to humiliate you. He skips the meeting, only to find out his absence was seen as a massive betrayal, and he is immediately fired.
The psychological toll of this is devastating. A lack of verifiable truth destroys human sanity infinitely faster than having no guidance at all.
Because you're paralyzed.
Exactly. Think about the mechanics of it. When you have no guidance, you rely on your own intuition. You gather evidence, make a hypothesis, take a risk. If you fail, you learn.
Right.
But when you have two identical voices, one omniscient and perfectly helpful, the other actively destructive, and absolutely no mechanism to tell them apart, it induces total cognitive paralysis. It is psychological gaslighting on a cosmic scale.
And Arjun begins to physically deteriorate. He stops sleeping. He stops eating. He just sits in his apartment, vibrating with paranoia. He is terrified of the clock striking 3:01 a.m., but utterly unable to look away when it does.
He's trapped in the loop.
He's trying to map the syntax of the texts, trying to find a linguistic tell to figure out which text is the real him and which is the intruder. But it's a completely unsustainable loop.
It has to break.
And that agonizing spiral forces the ultimate ultimatum. One night, the phone buzzes. But it's early. It's 3:15 a.m.
Breaking the rules.
The message from the real future Arjun is frantic. We're out of time. The timeline is fracturing. The paradox is collapsing under the weight of too many interventions.
The narrative suggests that reality itself possesses a kind of tensile strength. It cannot handle this endless barrage of manipulations and course corrections.
It's tearing at the seams.
It is the natural consequence of trying to cheat the fundamental laws of cause and effect.
So Arjun types back, desperate, "How do we fix it? Tell me what to do." And the future self replies, "I can tell you, but you are going to hate it. The only way to seal the fracture is to break the loop. You have to stop responding. You have to delete this number. You must ignore every single message from this moment on."
The ultimate sacrifice.
Arjun stares at the glowing screen in the dark. He types, "But I'm broke. I'm unemployed. If I sever the connection now, I have nothing. I lose everything." And the final text from his future self is a simple, terrifying, "Yes, you do."
This represents the true climax of Arjun's character arc. The choice is agonizingly stark.
It really is.
He can choose a flawed, painful reality where he is completely untethered but fundamentally the author of his own life. Or he can remain in a controlled environment, desperately trying to guess which puppet master is pulling his strings.
And slowly losing his sanity in the process.
All right.
So what does this all mean? Think about the sheer weight of that decision. If he walks away, he goes back to being aggressively ordinary. He has no safety net, no early warnings.
He has to actually live with the consequences of his actions.
To feel the pain of his own mistakes.
Hmm.
But if he holds on to the cheat code, he allows the algorithm of chaos to completely consume his mind.
Choosing to sever the connection requires a profound, almost unimaginable level of courage.
Yeah.
It is the courage to actively invite silence. By choosing to ignore the incoming message, he isn't just giving up an advantage. He is consciously accepting vulnerability. He is taking back the burden of uncertainty.
I want you, listening to this right now, to truly put yourself in that room. Picture sitting on the edge of a bed in a dark, silent apartment.
It's a heavy image.
You have $0 to your name. You have no job. The clock rolls over to 3:01 a.m. You know the phone is about to buzz. You know that sitting right there, inches from your hand, is a device that contains the exact sequence of steps required to fix your entire life.
Everything you could ever want.
Could you sit in that dark room, listen to the phone violently vibrate against the nightstand and refuse to look? Could you actively choose the pain of not knowing?
It directly contradicts every impulse we have cultivated in the modern information age.
Totally.
We are deeply conditioned to Google the symptom, to seek the optimized path, to demand the immediate solution. To choose to sit in the dark and let the phone ring is an act of extreme rebellion. It is the reclaiming of human friction.
And against all odds, that is exactly what Arjun does. The clock strikes 3:17 a.m. The screen illuminates the dark bedroom. The phone buzzes.
There we go.
Arjun's hand twitches, hovering over the device. But he doesn't touch it. It vibrates a second time, a third time. The texts are piling in.
The temptation must be unbearable.
He closes his eyes, clenches his jaw, and just sits there. He listens to the mechanical rattling against the wood of the nightstand. He breathes through the panic, and he waits. Until finally the screen goes dark.
The buzzing stops.
The loop is broken.
That silence following the frantic buzzing is heavy and terrifying. But it is also, quite literally, the sound of a man taking his hands back to the steering wheel.
The epilogue of the source material does a fantastic job of walking us through the messy aftermath of that silence.
Because it's not a fairy tale ending.
No, there is no magical montage where everything is suddenly fixed. Days pass, then weeks. The 3:17 a.m. messages stop entirely. Life simply returns to normal.
Boring, difficult, normal.
There are no temporal shortcuts, no early warnings about speeding cars or volatile tech stocks, just the grinding reality of waking up and having to figure it out. And Arjun struggles immensely at first.
Naturally, he's at rock bottom.
He is broke, he is unemployed, and he's deeply traumatized. But slowly, agonizingly, he begins to rebuild. He goes on terrible job interviews. He makes mistakes.
But they are his mistakes.
Yes. Because he no longer has the crutch of the cheat code, he's forced to actually develop his own resilience. The psychological calluses begin to form again. He becomes stronger, he becomes wiser, and most importantly, he becomes entirely, genuinely independent.
This raises an important question about the fundamental architecture of a well-lived life. What is the actual tangible value of a mistake?
That's a great way to frame it.
If you live a life where every pothole is pre-mapped by an omniscient GPS, and your only job is to turn the wheel when instructed, you never learn the mechanics of navigation.
Right?
You never learn how to rebuild an engine when it fails. The ultimate takeaway from Arjun's interaction with the future isn't a commentary on time travel or alternate dimensions.
No, it's about us.
It is a harsh illumination of the fact that true cognitive and emotional growth absolutely requires the possibility of failure. A life stripped of friction is a life stripped of agency. You cannot develop a robust sense of self in a perfectly controlled environment.
Which brings us to the final lingering image from our source text. It is months after Arjun has broken the loop. He has a new, utterly average job. He is slowly rebuilding his savings.
It's a normal guy again.
He is sleeping soundly in his bed. Suddenly, his eyes snap open. He glances at the digital clock on the nightstand. It is exactly 3:14 a.m.
Oh, man.
A second later, the room is bathed in the blue light of his phone screen. A notification pops up. It is from the unknown number.
The return of the cheat code.
His heart immediately stops. The breath catches in his throat. He stares at the glowing rectangle in the dark for a long, heavy minute.
The universe presenting the ultimate test of his newly forged resilience.
Yes. And instead of reaching for it, instead of sliding back into the seductive, sterile bubble of the cheat code, Arjun calmly reaches over, holds down the power button, turns the phone completely off, and goes back to sleep.
It is a quiet but monumental victory. He actively rejects the illusion of control, choosing the messy, unpredictable reality over a perfectly curated simulation.
It is the perfect note to end his arc on. But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own.
This is the part that really kept me up at night.
Throughout this entire discussion, we talk about the intruder, that secondary malicious entity that hijacked the connection, learned how to perfectly mimic Arjun, and actively tried to destroy his life.
Right.
The source text never explicitly explains who or what that intruder actually was. So as you go about your day, I want you to think about this. Was the intruder some kind of malevolent, external, digital demon?
Like an alien consciousness?
Maybe. Or was it the universe itself acting like a cosmic immune system, generating antibodies to attack and course-correct a timeline that Arjun was breaking with his constant interventions?
Both terrifying options.
And this is the one that really gets me terrifyingly. Was the intruder just another version of Arjun?
Oh, wow.
A version from an even more distant, fractured future, who grew so profoundly addicted to the dopamine hit of absolute power and the chaos of manipulating his own past that he mutated into the very monster he was trying to escape.
That shifts the entire dynamic of the narrative. The idea that our own desperate desire for control could curdle into something that actively orchestrates our destruction.
Right. It reframes every single choice he made. So tonight, when the house is quiet and the world is completely still and you are getting ready for sleep, remember Arjun Mehta. If your phone happens to vibrate on the nightstand at exactly 3:17 a.m., promising you the ultimate shortcut to a flawless life, maybe just leave it there in the dark. Trust your own choices today, the messy ones, the hard ones, the mistakes, even without a text from the future to guide you. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a wild ride.
Sleep well and turn off your notifications.